Well, hello, and welcome to Stop Let's Team Up, Those Daring Defenders, Episode 32, Guardians of the Galaxies, Part 1. Hey, it's me, Ross. I'm here with Billy from Magazines and Monsters and, his All-Star Squadron. I'm not remembering the first name. How you doing, Billy?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. It's the last day of my staycation for my birthday, and we're going to talk Defenders and Guardians of the Galaxy. So, folks, we're up to Giant Size Defenders 5 and Defenders 26. I invited Billy to do all 5 chapters of this, but after rereading them, they are densely packed. So we're going to do chapters 1 and 2 this week, and then in a few weeks, we'll be back to do issues 26, 27, 28. Or no, 27, 28, 29. Just because the giant size is a giant size, and it'd be too much. It would be like a 2-hour conversation, and that'd be a bit much. So, I know we talked Defenders before, and we talked Guardians, but you're a big Guardians fan too, aren't you? The original Guardians?
Yeah, they're a really cool team. I know all the newer characters from the movies and the more modern comic get a lot of love, and rightly so. That's great stuff too. DNA was great on that comic in the 2000s. There, the movies are fun.
I'm just reading that for the first time this year when I read Annihilation. That was I read the first Annihilation series a couple months ago, and I had never read it. And I like Abnett and Lanning, and I would put them up there with Starlin and Giffen when it comes to writing space sagas.
It's probably my favorite modern comic, to be honest with you. I've read some other things that were pretty good too, but their run on that comic, what was it, like 28 issues or 30 issues or something like that?
Yeah, I've got all those in Omnis. I want to kind of read it all at one time, and
yeah,
I just so much to read. I mean, I'm reading more and more, but it's something I'm into because I like their Legion. I know there are a lot of Legion fans that think they went in the wrong direction, and it was less Legion-y, and I agree with it being less Legion-y. I think some of it works. I don't like some of the small choices they made, like they mess up Element Lad, they kill Mons, they whack the wrong people. But they're really good at it. They're really good at it. And then my nephew, who passed away, he came to live with me a little bit before he died, and he knew who they were because they wrote Warhammer novels.
Yep.
And they could do it. They're really, really strong. But the original Guardians, they had their first appearance, which was the first thing I ever covered for this podcast. Then they had their series in Marvel Comics Presents for about 10 or 12 issues. And it was good. I remember that, my brother giving it to me because he liked all the space heroes. And they never got their own book until the 90s.
Yeah.
After this and after the Korvac saga. I think they're better suited in this than they are. I think in the Korvac saga, they're just in the background too much.
Yeah.
But they're a main part of this. And the Marvel 2, and there's already been the Marvel 2-in-1 team-up, which I love. So this is the second thing Gerber's written for them. I think. So, which is neat. But we'll talk about Gerber and how this is not as Gerber-y Defenders as other stuff he will go on to write. But
that's true.
Let me see. Because we talked about some of his first stuff because we covered the Marvel 2-in-1 stuff, you and me, in which was okay. Which was good. But the story after this is where it goes full on
crazy. Yeah,
well, it's glorious. So but let's get started with Giant Size 5. Well, I want to ask you, so did you read Defenders as it was coming out, or is it something you went, because you're a Defenders fan, you went, or is it, refresh my memory, did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't start reading Defenders so many years later after it came out. And it was, of course, I had been reading Doctor Strange, and that led me to Defenders because I was reading Doctor Strange, what was coming out at the time, and then I was reading faster than stuff was coming out because obviously, comics are, for the most part, monthlies. So I started going backwards, and once I read as far backwards as I could, I was like, I want to read more Doctor Strange. And then it was like, oh, wait, there's this other title called The Defenders that he's in. And, for the most part, early on especially, he was a lot of the main focus. So I've got my Doctor Strange fix there.
Yeah. So I read it because it tied into the Avengers, and my brother, he bought everything. But I have always been a huge, huge Defenders fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Guardians, and this is a great thing. So this is just such a good placed good story for that, because you get it all. Let's kind of get the pertinent data. So this was Giant Size 5 was released on April 22nd, 1975. Cover date July 1975. Writers on the story is Steve Gerber, Jerry Conway, Roger Silver, Len Wein, Chris Claremont, Scott Edelman. Okay, I don't know why all of them are listed. I looked for some notes. I don't, and I'm not seeing why they all get credit for it. It must have,
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's really weird.
It reads like a Gerber, but we'll get to that. Well, okay. Artist is Don Heck. We're going to talk about that. But with inks by Mike Esposito, Jim Mooney, and Dave Hunt. Colorist George Russos. Letterers David Hunt, Artie Simek, and editor Len Wein. The roll call for this is pretty much the standard foursome until Hellcat comes on. Doc Strange, Hulk, Valkyrie, Nighthawk. Guest star in the Guardians of the Galaxy's Vance Astro, Charlie 27, Martin X, and Yondo. Other characters, some people in flashback, and
the main focus here, Elar.
Elar. That's it. Let's Elar. What? And we get to meet the young Vance Astrovic, who will become, for 90s kids, will become Justice. Marvel Boy, and then Justice.
Yeah.
Because this is where they start screwing up with the timeline and kind of making it that, oh, no, the Guardians, the Vance Astrovic that goes into space is not from this Earth.
No.
He is from another Earth or something. I think they explain it away somehow. But
they do, yeah.
So the title of this is Elar Moves in Mysterious Ways.
Which is crazy. That made me think of that U2 song.
Yeah, it did. But
this was like 15 years before that song came out.
Yeah, but this is more a lyric from a big band song or something. I don't know. But Elar, the cover, who did the cover? Let's see. Covers by Ron Wilson, Al Milgrom, and Denny Crispy. I guess Crispy's doing the letters. It's an okay cover. I think it's more Al Milgrom than it is Ron Wilson, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you see you're going to get something crazy in this issue. And like we said, it's not – there's like many hands involved in the writing and plotting and all of this story. So it's not a super Gerber comic. But this Elar guy, yeah, you're going to get crazy right out of the bat. And I love how Val is taking a sword swipe at his head.
I know. I like it. It's something I love when I read Defenders is that every time she hits somebody with a sword, there's either an editor's note or someone specifically says she's hitting him with the flat of the blade.
Yes.
So not to cut them. It's like, so kids don't hit. But if you make a toy sword, it's all right to smack your brother upside the head as long as you do it on the fat edge.
Yeah.
So, as someone who, when I was a kid, me and my brother had just I have two brothers right above me, and we're about 4 and 4 years apart. My middle brother Bill were out back. We had watched the Three Musketeers films, and we were using baseball bats as swords, as 6 and 10-year-olds will do. And my mother walked out and said, "What are you idiots doing?" And I turned to look at my mother. She's telling me I'm an idiot because she came out and saw me and him hitting these bats very hard against each other, I turned around and my brother was in middle swing and he cracked me in the back of the head.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think I've got some dings in my head from dumbass shit as a child. I think one of them is getting hit in the back of the head with a baseball bat. My mom just go, "Are you all right? Did you lose consciousness?" "No, just I'm seeing stars." "Okay, let me know if anything changes," and went back in.
Rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she is hitting it. The Hulk, I think with the Hulk is sometimes with certain characters, it's like what they did with Superman and Kirby's DC is we're gonna make it look like somebody else is drawing it. You need to make it look like Wayne Boring. Like Superman, you had to look like Kurt Swan or Wayne Boring. But the Hulk is a lot of times the face is done by somebody else.
Yeah.
What was I? There was something else I was doing, and his face was always done by Romita.
Yeah.
Senior. I'm like, why? He never drew the Hulk.
No.
But it's probably he did the character. But it's weird. It's an okay one. The Guardians are Charlie X and Yondu are the only two that actually you can make them out. Martin X. It's I don't know. I do say my favorite part of the cover of the giant size Defenders ones is the bubble with the four characters standing side by side on the instead of the front faces. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I love this lineup. I love Nighthawk.
Nighthawk's off.
Yeah, he's just he's a poor putz. But let's get into this. So the synopsis. Hold on, I'm gonna steal the synopsis from. Elar moves in mysterious ways. Oh my goodness. While investigating a temporal disruption, Doctor Strange, Valkyrie, and the Hulk meet Elar, a creature mutated by the alien Badoon to destroy humanity. The group end up meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy, whose ship, the Captain America, had crashed in the 20th century. As the Guardians are transported to the location of the Defenders' battle against Elar, Vance Astro's younger self, Vance Astrovic, finds the Guardian ship and meets Martin X. Defeating Elar and reversing its mutation, the Guardians explain that they are in the modern era to stop the Badoon invasion. During an exchange of information, the Defenders agree to return to the Guardians' 31st century and help them defeat their Badoon oppressors. That's a good synopsis. It's a big comic, but let's kind of go through. I like the splash page a little bit. I don't think it's great. I think it was the same. There was a lot of this street level stuff at the beginning of the last batch of stories and Defenders we covered. And let's talk about Heck's art early on. I am not a fan of Heck in certain one. There's some bad inking in this. This is not this. I'm taking some of it as the Esposito inks. Do not do him any favors. It looks unfinished.
Like you said with the writers, the same thing with the inkers inside here as well. You had Jim Mooney doing certain pages, Mike Esposito doing certain pages, and Dave Hunt doing certain pages.
I can't find where the Hunt pages would be. I think Hunt would be a better inker because I think he polishes people. I think he may be doing the first few pages because it's the less weak.
Well, it says he did page one. It says he only did the backgrounds.
Is that how they divvied it up? Okay.
Is on page 1 and then pages 8 to 32. But then you figure he also did a lot of the lettering too because Artie Simek died right as he started doing this issue.
Oh my goodness! Really? I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was basically the last thing he did before he died. Yeah. So so then he couldn't do the whole thing. So then Dave Hunt had to do that too. So yeah, it seems like it was just kind of a cluster fudge. And Marvel was in 1975. What did they go through? Like 3 editors between 75 and 76?
Yeah. They just didn't really know what they wanted to do. I like Don Heck older stuff. You like his horror? I've seen his. I only know his horror. I've seen some of it recently, and it is beautiful. It is absolutely stunning. But I do like his early run on Avengers, his pre-John Buscema, like when Jack was still writing it, and then Roy took over. because he would have better inkers. I think he had more time,
Mm-hmm.
But I like you, because when he goes to DC in the in the 80s, is it when he's doing Justice League?
I think so.
It's
Yeah,
really rough.
it is.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work. He's not given a good inker to help him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like what happens. I don't like Infantino's later work. Like once he's not editor and he's not publisher anymore, and he goes back to drawing the Flash during the Cary Bates era. I think because his art in the 60s and 50s is gorgeous.
Yes, that
And
stuff he did with the Flash in the '60s. Oh my gosh, that is great. But
oh
yeah, for me, Carmen Infantino, the stuff I always kind of point out is check out the Spider-Woman series from like 1980 when that first came out, 79, 80, whenever that first came out. He was an artist in there for a while, the penciler, and it is not good.
I know it's rough. I bought
Oof.
the Phantom Stranger omnibus because it was at like half
Mm.
off on cheap
Yeah.
traffic novels, and I read the first four of the 1950s series, and oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, man, him and Gene Colan in the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it is amazing. But Don,
Yeah.
I would rather read some of Don's like war and horror probably from the 50s, and I think I'd be
Yeah.
happier.
Yep, for sure. I
Uh,
totally agree with you. And well, the first thing that led me to believe something was up with this issue too is on that very splash page, the logo for the name of the story. You can tell whoever did that lettering screwed it up because they had to almost like it looks like maybe even in post production add the word in next to the word mysterious as if it wasn't even there. Like, do you see that in the edition you have?
Yeah, yeah. I always hate these things where you use there's Elar is in one font, moves and ways is in another font, and it's just like they sharpied it in. Like Donald Trump
Yeah.
was helping with the lettering, and then
You can tell. Yeah.
mysterious is like some early Adobe, some terrible font you would get. It just looks rough. It just looks
Yeah.
rough. You
Not
got
good.
you got these three tough guys standing around the street corner. They're gonna rip off a guy, steal his briefcase,
Hmm.
and hold on, give me 1 second. I think one of my
Hmm.
cats is trapped in here. All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
No. My wife didn't want the dog to kind of wander in my room, so. Um, so we see these bad guys in the first two pages, and then it cuts to three of our defenders, Doc Strange, the Hulk, Valkyrie, flying because there's been a phenomenon in the bay in on the Hudson River,
Hmm.
and they're investigating it.
I love that huge panel there on page 3 with the Doc flying and he's using the eye to transport the Hulk.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, how do you get it? How do you move people? Why do you know? They're such a. I mean, I think this is such a good team. Valkyrie
Mm.
from the inception of Valkyrie, she's one reason the book survives. Her and I think it is because of her and Nighthawk, the book
Hmm.
really survives as long as it does. And then
Yeah.
Hellcat, because when you get to that foursome, you really got it. It's going pretty good.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I mean, I liked Subby in there originally too because he was just a crank, and him and the Hulk would always be like at each other. But when he left and Valkyrie came on full time, that was fantastic. That was a great swap.
oh yeah, it was. It was. When she's such a good character, she's written well. I would have liked to have seen what a female writer had done with her early on. I think because I listened to Tighten Up the Defense, and uh, Hub and Corey, the two gentlemen that covered it, they really bash on Jack Norris.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we can explain that too. So for people, anybody that might be listening, that is just not only like as only maybe a modern reader or familiar with the movies and stuff like that. At this point, the Valkyrie, it's not 100% just the Valkyrie from Asgard. It's a woman's body, Barbara Norris, but like the spirit of the Valkyrie inside her body.
And at this point, we don't know that she is really Broomhilda. This is a construct of a.
Yeah.
The Enchantress created this personality to fuck with the Avengers and then the Defenders.
Yeah.
Eventually, you learn that she is specifically Broomhilda.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
Jack is creepy because there's something in here where she's like, "Could you just? You're not my husband. Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, he is married to Barbara Norris, but that like whole personality basically doesn't exist anymore. It's the Valkyrie, her personality in that body. So he just doesn't want to
admit it,
deal with that fact, and it's just like
that she was willfully evil. Barbara Norris is not a victim, and I didn't realize until I did a reread. Oh no, you intentionally joined this cult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, she was just a dope, but he won't let it go. And there's a couple of times where like he kind of puts his hands on her, and it's like it looks like your wife in body, but that's not your wife. And she kind of says to him like she's nice about it, and she kind of says to him like, "Dude, I'm not your wife. I don't have any feelings for you. Get lost." And he won't let it go. And a couple of times he'll like, she'll try to walk away and he'll like grab her hand or grab her arm, and she'll be like, "Dude, don't ever do that again."
Yeah,
she's gonna mess him up.
Well, that's what I like to do because when I listened to Tighten Up the Defense, I hadn't reread this, and I'm rereading this. It's like at least you guys are having to say, "Take your hands off me." He plays a big part in a lot of going on, and I think he's supposed to be a tragic character, like he's lost everything. But he is not handling it well, and it could,
No. I mean, he's around for a while here. I think he's around for the entire run of Gerber, which goes he's issue 40, 41,
David Anthony Kraft gets in and he's like, "Get rid of this guy. There is nothing interesting. There's nothing interesting." And I think that's good, because I think David Anthony Kraft's after Gerber, that's a hard act to follow. And I think he does a really good job.
It was a near impossible task, but he did okay. I will always give him credit. He did better than anybody else probably could have, because he was kind of a weird writer too. He wasn't Gerber level, but he wrote some weird crap too.
Oh no. Yeah, but he also he had the luxury that he had. They gave him different. Sal left, that's a bad thing always when Sal leaves. But they gave him young Keith Giffen and some other people. But
the weather starts going bananas here. I like this too. Fish start pouring into the boat.
Oh yeah, it starts. There's a spout. There's a Staten Island ferry, which I've never ridden, but you can tell what it is. If you know you're New York, that's the ferry, and I like it. And they all fly down, and Hulk is just grabbing handfuls of fish and throwing them back.
It's great, yeah.
And
get back in the water, dumb fish.
So are the fish hitting Valkyrie coming from the spout or coming from the Hulk throwing them back off? I read it and went, is he throwing fish at Valkyrie?
Get back into the water, dumb fish. That's what
Oh.
His dialogue is. And I like that. I like dumb Hulk. This is my favorite Hulk.
It is mine
other
too.
People
it is
like intelligent Hulk or this Hulk. I like this Hulk where he can be calmed down sometimes by certain people, but for the most part, he's just pissed off all the time, and he's got like the IQ of a rock. It's great. I love it.
I do too. It's my preference. I like him to have Branner intelligence for a plot device, but don't have it forever. I kind of like what they've done in Modern Hulk is that there's a different one every time, because it's just what's going on in his head, and that he is immortal. He cannot die. That was a good run.
Coming out of the water here to grab Steven. I like that panel, and then the one of him being pulled into the water too. I think those are pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of polished. I think the inking's a little better on that one. It just looks a little more finished.
That may have been Jim Mooney there, and Jim Mooney is a fantastic inker.
Yeah, and I think that's probably. I was trying to figure out what was Mooney. And then we cut back to the gangsters. They're going to rob the old Jewish guy who's got money. I think that's what he's a jeweler.
I think it's a jewelry store. I think you said.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there's this big guy tells him to stop, and they charge him, and it's Charlie X. Now this is some terrible inking.
Yeah, he looks especially on page 10 there. He looks not great. It almost looks like they took the Hulk's body and put his head on top of it. And he's not green still.
I think they're trying to. who's the original artist? Gene Colan was the original artist.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're looking at the Gene Colan stuff, and they're doing the big head and just, and they can't pull it off, and they keep giving him a collar line like he's wearing a colored top, and it's like, no, he's just wearing the straps. I mean, it's a good action sequence. Charlie gets a lot to do, which I like. Charlie 27, because he's normally not the driving character in a Guardian story.
Well, and they do stab the old man here. They did stab the guy before Charlie could, act.
Yeah. Well, poked him with it. Oh, guess it. Yeah, just the tip. Just the tip. I did like this. I like this sequence. I mean, the action could have been better. It's just a little rushed.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah. And we cut back to the defenders over the boat, and they're following Elar. Elar can talk.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if if these are his internal thoughts here, because his speech bubbles are like all wavy. So I thought, is that? And it does say he communicates telepathically.
Yeah, and everybody can overhear it, which is kind of.
So I'm guessing that's what's going on. But he has like this electricity around him, and he's flying around, and he says, "To the cities, the centers of civilization must be first to fall." So, okay.
Yeah.
Looks like a big turd, actually.
Yeah, it does. It's oh my God. Then we cut to Nighthawk. Nighthawk is still getting over the death of finding out his Pennyworth, his number one right-hand man at his company was a bad guy. His girlfriend Trishar was blown up in a car with him, lost her arm. Mm-hmm. He had to battle the Guardians again. That was in Giant Size 4, and then Triss has left him, and he's despondent. And he's flying. Kyle he's a poor guy. Oh, he gets and he sees the Captain America crashing.
The ship, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost the Enterprise.
Yeah, let's not just steal it. What I like is on the bottom of the page where he sees it, he's flying again, some really rough Don Heck art, but it's Verputen's Meat Market. Verputen was one of the number one letterers at Marvel.
Oh, big time inker too, John Verpoorten, yeah.
Yeah. So someone was busted his chops or something.
I think he was like a production manager or something like that.
Yeah.
At some point.
He was like him and Marie Seven were like what they used to call traffic managers that made sure stuff moved around. We got these two stupid. Okay, if I'm working in a toll booth, why does a toll booth guy have a gun? And
I don't understand this.
If I'm working with him, it's like, will you put it even says, now, will you put that gun away? So here's all the commotion. There's something going on in the tunnel. And they go in there, and if I'm in a New York tunnel that goes under the Hudson, and water is pouring down, I'm leaving immediately. I'm not going to stare at it until the ceiling collapses and all the fish come pouring in.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on here, because the one cop is like, holy crap, we got to get out of here. And the other one just stands there staring, and it says, but Ferdinand Flynn, man of action, is mesmerized, entranced, paralyzed by shock and disbelief. And again, that's in real life. I mean, obviously we're talking about a comic book here with a guy named Elar, but it just seemed a little weird that a bunch of fish in water hypnotized him.
But I don't think it actually moves the plot forward at all. He's just standing there. They come in and the Hulk and Valkyrie ball up a car and shove it in the roof.
That's so weird.
Look at the Hulk running in the water trying to pull his legs up. It's so gross.
This, you know what, I will say, this book reminded me of, I can't remember, was that like an annual or something? Or what was that awful comic that had like 10 guys' names attached to it where basically Ms. Marvel got like sexually assaulted? What was that comic?
Oh, that was Avengers 200. That's where she gets sexually assaulted, and then Claremont goes, "Hey guys, you had her raped. She was raped." And then
This kind of reminds me of that. It's like this. There's so many hands in the pot here. You can't even get anything good, any one good plot line through to the end because there's so many different guys saying, "Let's do this, let's do that." It's like it kind of reminded me of that comic because that's how that comic was. It was a cluster fudge on top of being a horrible experience for Ms. Marvel's character. But anyhow.
Oh yeah.
That's what
it is. And they're introducing so much, and I like that they bring in, because next we're going to see Vance Astrovic, the young version Vance Astro, and that his obsession with Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, he was there a couple of pages earlier. I think it just showed him, staring off maybe in a panel. But it's like you said, the craziness about the car getting balled up and put in there to stop that, and the Hulk, more stupid fish everywhere. That I do like.
Yeah. No, the Hulk stuff is, Gerber knows how to write these characters. I think he writes his main characters. And I like, little Vance Astrovic is, Dad, oh my God, this is what it goes. Mom, Dad, wait till you'll hear. I saw a UFO, a flying saucer, real one, crash it. I didn't hear, and the wife, his mom goes, I didn't hear a crash. Did you, Tom? Don't encourage him, Mary. Is it your turn to do the spanking or mine?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then she goes, Tom, you can't spank a child for having an overactive imagination. It's the 1970s. You sure as hell fucking beat your child for having a vivid imagination. It's not nice, but there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah, I mean, I got spanked plenty of times. I mean, usually, if not always, it was very much deserved because I was being a hooligan. But
yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah, same. My family, it was like my dad would. I've told this story before, but he would lecture you while he spanked you.
That's great.
Why you're getting it. And one time I got lippy and went, "Can I have the lecture or the spanking?" And he went, "Sure, my choice." And he smacked my butt, and I went, "Oh, ow." You've actually just been going through the motions of the spanking. That's what it would feel like if I was getting a real spanking. So I just was like, I got it. Go ahead. Do both. I'm fine. Yeah.
That's great.
But we'd also go sometimes, he'd have us line up. Who did it? We weren't ratting each other out. He asked me one time, he goes, you've never told on your brothers. Why? You're just going to spank me. They're going to put my head in the toilet. And he was like, choose your battles. I respect that. But yeah, this is the cliche of mom is sympathetic and dad is just a put upon shitty father, which is I really and Marvel leans into, I don't want to say Marvel, but this is something which I find just, it's such a trite, simple, lazy bit of writing, that he's I mean, it's Marvel, so there's got to be drama, but he wants to be a hero. He worships Captain America, which is a good hero to kind of fixate on, but he like any kid in a comic book, he's going to jump out and go look for the spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
who wouldn't want to?
Oh no, we see him climb out. Yeah, I'd have done it. It's
yeah.
But I mean, this is in what, Queens?
So yeah, one of the boroughs of New York. I'm not sure which one, but yeah.
Yeah. So there, Nighthawk has followed it. He's getting it, and he even makes a. Nighthawk's flying. Oh brother, I think I've just discovered what they mean when they say Star Trek lives.
That's great.
It is great. And then we get a page where all the other three Guardians are introduced, and it's Nighthawk's facial expression in the caption box, his mouth getting open wider and wider. I think you're pretty ways into the comic, but then until they're mentioned as the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And again, the art does not do these gentlemen justice. It's really rough. They go back. We get back to Elar. He's in Madison. He's in Times Square, messing stuff up. Charlie's running from the cops and fighting the monster, and then the Hulk just lands on him. Lands on Elar. Planets will crumble. Nebula will blow away. White dwarfs and red giants, blue. And Hulk is like, "Shut up."
Just jumps on him, starts beating the crap out of him.
I love it. And Doc Strange, after Shut Up, goes, "My sentiments precisely, Hulk. I think it's time we did the talking to our violent friend while he's down. Elar, we demand." And then Elar just keeps talking. The most brilliant supernova pales besides the glow of our greatness. So is Elar just kind of there to be there? I don't.
Mm-hmm. It seems that way. He's just like a villain of the week.
He's not, has nothing to do with the Guardians or anything.
No, and I mean, just not to spoil the ending, but at the end, he just gets turned back into an eel.
Yeah, it's really weird. I like that Charlie's in the background. He's like going, "Whoa, the super beings of this," because it's This era is famous for it's the Age of Heroes. And I like that he's sitting there. He's standing in the crowd. He's in a superhero costume. No one's noticing it. They're just thinking he's from the leather bar down the street.
Yeah.
But he's thinking, he goes, "I've never seen anything quite like this foe either. But there's something oddly familiar about his telepathic speeches. I'm tempted to jump into the fray to try to help, but it would only lead to more questions. I can't risk it." We cut back to the Captain America, where Hawkeye has made friends with the Guardians, and they're going to use their transporter, which has a tube.
Yeah, that is wild.
Well, it's weird. I'm reading 2019 Suicide Squad. They have the same technology. That's how Waller
Oh, really?
said. Yeah, I'm like, I was reading this and reading that, going, wow, do you need a tube? Okay. And then Vance Astrovic walks in, and he's like, oh, wow. He's not even freaked out that there's a guy made of crystal. If that means, and
No.
I like Martin X's response to it. If that means what I think it is, I concur. So Nighthawk and Yondu and Vance Astro are teleported to Times Square in a really, oh my God, the most undynamic battle page I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then Charlie's in it. So they all have a meet, and Elar takes another leap, and the Hulk follows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Doctor Strange looks pretty rough at the bottom of that page too. It's like, oh man, doesn't even look like him.
Yeah.
Oof.
So we cut to the Guardians, and they find the old man's briefcase and the guy that was stabbed. Unless the old man's suitcase, I suppose I open it with a psychokinetically, just out of curiosity. Well, what do you know? Somebody pawned what we crossed 10 centuries to find, and it's this helmet.
Yeah, really bizarre looking helmet.
It's a genuine memento programmer, but the tapes are empty blank. We've come here all the way for nothing. Yeah.
It almost looks like the Epcot Center at Disney World, like that circuit, like globe thing. He puts it on his head. It's weird.
Oh yeah, and then
it's very bizarre.
And then Doc Strange flying over the water, he finds another one full of eels.
Yeah,
and that's what created Elar. And Doc Strange turns him back into an eel.
Yeah, they're just like fighting. Like Elar picks up rips a tree out of the ground, and then just throws it. And then again, the Hulk's there. So what are you going to do to him? Big deal. But man, the Hulk looks awful in that middle panel on page 37 there, where Elar's having this tantrum. He just looks like Bruce Banner. Like he's like shorter. Like, do you see how he looks there? He looks really, really not good. It looks like Doc Strange is like 2 feet taller than him.
I know.
But yeah, it's rough.
And then they explain it. Doc Strange goes, it's also the home for a nest of electric eels, and the unique radiation which powers it mutated one of those eels and programmed the non-intelligent beast with the information content of the recordings. And Charlie goes, Badoon war propaganda, ancient stuff, pre-Empire. I knew I heard it before.
That's great.
So,
but now they still have to take out Elar.
Oh, that's yeah. They got
Yondu shoots him with an arrow. God.
They're zapping him. They're doing everything, punching him. He's unconscious, and Valkyrie's about to stab him, and then Doc Strange turns him back into an eel. And then we cut to the Sanctum Sanctorum. They're all there except for Martin X and Vance Astrovic. And the Defenders say they're going to help. Mm-hmm. Well, we get a little background. They go, Vance Astro explains, so Earth was or will be conquered in 3007 by the race called the Badoon. We've managed to recapture New York, though. And that happened in Marvel 2-in-1 number 5. Mm-hmm. And examining their historical records, we learned that an attempt to seize the Earth once before unsuccessful, and that was Silver Surfer's number 2.
Yeah.
So that was neat. See, this is when continuity was king.
Yeah.
I know why they don't do it now, because it's just so much of it. They can't tie it all together. But I like, this is when you could read all these, and I was reading them all. It has a nice ending. The cliffhanger is Martin X finds out that that the little kid who walked in is his teammate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's... I can't believe this kid's not weirded out by all these people. Too,
no. He's that perfect Spielberg, George Lucas movie kid that's not,
He's not wigged out by all these really creepy, scary-looking people.
All right. So overall, that was the last giant-sized Defender comic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Defender's giant sizes were a mixed bag.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. The Avenger ones tend to be real good. The Man-Thing ones I hear are amazing. See, that's...
they're really good.
Yeah, I really would like to get the giant-size omnibus just to have them all.
Mm-hmm. I like the giant-sized one with the Squadron Sinister. I thought that was pretty good.
That was pretty good, yeah. And
I think the first one was okay, too.
Yeah, the Grandmaster, it was just how they had to condense everything into it with all the panels, and it was a mixed bag. But it was okay. It's a good setup because the next 4 issues are incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one, which is Defenders 26.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me get to that. I had it up, dude. But it's there we go. Defenders 26. Well, let's start with the cover. This is a great cover.
Oh, I love this one.
It's got to be Gil Kane. I'm waiting for the page to load.
Gil Kane and John Romita. Yeah. Oh my God. This is
Romita's
incredible.
Romita's doing the heads, and the action's done by Gil Kane. Does that make sense? Because you've got the Defenders' 4 heads floating over the landscape of a future New York, and the 4 Guardians battling with this great across the Gulf of Centuries, Earth battles for its life. Savage time.
Yeah, a little busy, but still really awesome.
Oh no, man! I love these covers. I love.
Oh.
Well, it's weird. I haven't reread it. It's like one cover is great, the next cover is what the heck is that? Well, hey, this one. We'll get to the synopsis here. The synopsis for this one is: as Jack Norris tries to rekindle his romance with Valkyrie, the Earth is racked by disasters caused by the temporal displacement caused by the Guardians' presence in the modern era. When a news report reveals that the Guardians' crash spaceship has been found by the National Guard and news crews, that Vance Astro's younger self is in the ship with their crewmate Martinix, Dr. Strange casts a spell and teleports them and the starship to the grounds of the Writing Academy that is the headquarters of the Defenders. Oh, I've forgotten that they've already moved to the Writing Academy. Meanwhile, Martinix and Charlie 27 work on making the Starship Space Wars again. Major Astro, keeping his identity a secret from his younger self, tells young Vance, Nighthawk, Dr. Strange the history of his planet, including the major events that led to the Guardians' future. An invasion by Martians, followed by the overthrow of the Martians by Killraven and his Freemen, followed by Universal Alliance, Fast Answer reveals in the 31st centuries, and later invasion by the Bad Dune, which saw their rulership over the Earth. Once the Major has finished his tale, Dr. Strange casts a spell that erases young Vance's memories of what he's been told and sends him home. When the repairs are completed, the Defenders agree to help the Guardians battle the Badoon rulers of Earth in the 31st century. Once they are all aboard, Strange casts another spell, one that transports them across space and time, placing them in orbit around the conquered Earth in the year 3015 AD. That was a little longer one, but that was good. Did miss something. This was published on the May 2075, August 1975 is the cover date. It was a Steve Gerber, Sal Buscema, woohoo, Vince Coletta inks, but I don't think his inks are that bad on this one. Normally his inks.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're okay. It's not terrible. I mean, like when you look at somewhere like Grand Comics Database, they're saying that Sal Buscema just did layouts and Vinny Coletta did like the inks and finished art. And I feel like that's probably pretty accurate. Like you can see right here on this splash page that there's not a lot of Sal Buscema going on there.
No, and I for a second when I first opened I thought it was because Klaus Janson ends up being Sal's inker for a while on Defenders, and that's a very good thing. But this is very much, I think that's probably why this is better. he's trying to maintain that the faces look like Sal's faces.
Yeah.
For consistency, he's looking at what's gone past him. But I think since Vinny is doing, if he's doing most of this is just layouts, I think he's doing a fine job. And they give him as artist. Because I think this art is so much better than the last issue. And I think it works real well. It's definitely laid out by Sal. The progression, the choices and panels is all that. I do like this splash page. But we do get to see what this is we get that important conversation between her and him. She's trying to explain to him, your wife's dead. I'm walking around in her corpse. And my personality is a construct of an evil goddess. There's nothing about Barbara in him here. Stop following me around.
Yeah, he won't give it up. He even grabs her and kisses her. And she's just like, no, I felt nothing. Like, kind of buzz off. And I do feel bad for him in a sense, because then he's there on his knees, kind of like, he's lost his wife. And like we said, it's not because his wife was a nut. So she's dead of her own bad decisions. But I do feel bad for him. But even like that, it's like, okay, eventually, dude, you need to listen to what she's saying. She's saying, hey, she's gone. I am not her, even though I may look like her. She's gone, and you need to basically start over. And he's having a really rough time with that.
Yeah, and don't touch me again like that. Don't kiss me again like that, or if you value your life. It's like, she's got a sword, dude.
Yeah, she's got a sword, and she's got a Madonna bra on here.
Yeah. It's and then there's an earthquake where he's about to fall, but she captures him, and they fly off to. She's on Aragorn, the Black Knight's former steed.
Going to Greenwich Village.
Yeah, no, but they're not. They're actually going to go to the Riding Academy because this splash page where they're around the meeting table.
That's great.
Yeah, but that's definitely a Sal.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, editor's box, and they're all planning to go into the future. I like it a lot. I like that the spaceship looks like the Enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not the first ones to do this. I mean, the Legion flew around in their cruisers look like the Enterprise.
Well, the doc here is trying to say that the reason all these catastrophes are happening on Earth is because of them being in this, century. And Charlie gets pissed off and slams his hand down and says, that's impossible. Martinex calculated the probabilities 100 times. And Astro says, Charlie's right, Dr. Strange. We took every conceivable factor into account. We can't be responsible. And the Hulk just says, Hulk doesn't get it. How can men from tomorrow be from tomorrow when it's still tonight?
I know. Hulk asking those pertinent questions. And then we got the military around here.
And that's a great shot, too.
Oh, it is. It's a great. The ship looks great.
Yeah. The EV camera there, like, look at that. That looks good.
Yeah, they did it. Really, I think it's some of the better art we're going to see coming up because, there's a lot of it. Vinny's on these, but I think it's right. It's like he's got more to do, so I think he's putting more into it. I like how Martinex and Little Astro come out of the thing, and it freaks everybody out, and then
that's when they realize that's what the problem is. Maybe these two people, it's the same person trying to occupy the same space here.
Yeah, and then Doc sends a big orange ball of energy and transports the spaceship to the Riding Academy. And Vance Astro and Vance Astrovic, they're going to go off and have a conversation. Nidoc's going to go with them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's some good stuff here. I love how he's trying to explain things to the kid about how things are on the planet and out in space and stuff like that. It's cool. It's really good stuff.
Oh, no. I like this flashback where he gives the history lesson. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of exposition. But I love it, man. Because they're going to show you everything. We burn a hole in. We get Killraven. I love that. We get Killraven, the Martians. We get, first because we're the ozone layer. Look, this is the 70s, and they're talking about the ozone layer and the aerosol. We'll all be wearing, respirators and, skin diving suits.
Mm-hmm.
In the sun, and then people are going to have bionics, and then he's going to be shot into space in 1988. Then there are the food riots in the 1990s, the bionic wars of the 1990s, armies of man machines. So that's Deathlock, fighting for the dwindling food. Then there was an explosion, and then there was an arm. So the first confederation of nations, it's the U.S. and the two big communist countries. Okay.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, wait a minute. They build a
War of the
future,
Worlds?
and then the Martians show up, and then we get to see Killraven.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I do love that. I would love to get it. All of the Killraven stuff said things available on the app. I might have to read it because I remember it being really. There's some early Giffen in there too. Some really early Giffen.
They definitely have it in an Epic collection too, because I was eyeballing it. I think it's out of print, so there's people asking a couple bucks more than the list price for it, but it's still probably way cheaper to do that than it would be to buy the singles at this point.
Oh yeah. Then we get they're overturned. That they're the Techno Barons. 500 years of Bite. It's 2025. They're free, and then they move to the stars. So they're men on Mercury that look like Yondo. Martin X lives on Pluto. That's why he's Crystal. Charlie X lives in a globe city, a ball floating in the atmosphere of Jupiter, and that's why he's heavenly. And then the Space Fleet.
Yeah, which looks like the Federation like.
Oh no, the fire-haired people are Nikki's people. They're setting it up to meet Nikki.
Yes, yeah. They do talk about that briefly. Yep.
Yeah, and then Yondu's from Alpha Centauri, the planet where Vance Astro. But by the time he was shot off in the end of 1998, and he lands at Alpha Centauri in 3006, only to find that there are humans there. They have all come. The humans didn't beat him there.
And they mentioned the Badoon doing their crazy stuff like usual, subjugating people.
Yeah, and that leads to the founding of the Guardians, and then it also leads to the time that the Guardians, Sharon Carter and Captain America aided the Guardians.
Yeah, they do reference again, like you said, continuity, the Marvel 2-in-1 number 5.
Which is a great comic book.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. And Astro's makes a little Astrovic cry. Yes, it's hard. Even if your future were my past. I can't change the history of my world, but you can alter the shape of things to come. Because this is like it's not predestined. And then Nighthawk asks, is that true? Is Astro the major story just one possible destiny? Paradoxically thought, as it may seem, is correct. So take heart, Vance. Earth need not suffer the fate of another world. Can you send me home now? My folks will be worried. He does, and he erases his memory and zaps him back.
He mind wipes the kid. Yeah, I'm like, jeez.
Yeah, that's like a bad episode of Doctor Who.
God. Yeah, and it's like, and then he does, just zaps him and sends him back, and then he says, Vance Astro, have no fear, Major. The boy will remember nothing of what you told him. My spell saw to that. And he says, I should have known. Thanks, Strange.
Yeah. And then they're all going to board the Captain America, including Jack for some reason. And he grabs Val, and she's like, snaps.
Yeah, she's getting really pissed off at him because, in her mind, she said to him multiple times already, like, dude, enough is enough. Like, I'm not your wife. For some reason, he thinks in his head, maybe it's some kind of like PTSD or something. I don't know. But for some reason in his head, he thinks he's going to be able to, like, snap her out of some fog that she's in, and she's going to be like, oh, yeah, you are my husband, yay, but he's just not getting it. I don't know if he's too stupid or what.
Well, I think he's a 70s man, and he didn't understand.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, he's an idiot. And they land, they appear in orbit, and the end is that they're going to free the humans from the Badoon, which is good. And that
great teaser there at the bottom of that page, though, too.
Yeah, the might of the defenders turned against the savage empire of the Badoon, but not before you meet the mysterious being known only as Starhawk. So they're expanding this. I think. Wait a minute, their series is after this. They're running Marvel Presents because that's where Nikki joins and Starhawk is fleshed out.
Yeah, I think that initial stuff was Marvel Superheroes or something, where it was Gene Colan, and was that Gerber too? And
So
then,
I
there
think
was a
what they
big
did is
gap
they did
until
the
this.
Marvel 2-in-1 and it sold well, and then they did this arc and it sold well, so they gave them their own series in Marvel Presents.
Yeah, that was a little bit later, yeah.
Yeah, which ends, and then the Korvac saga is finished in the Avengers. I liked the second issue. I mean, the first issue was fun, the giant size, but it's definitely it's meant to be kind of a standalone in some way because it's a giant size, but it sets up this plot because this 26, 27, 28, 29 are really tight. And
yes.
We're going to come back and talk about the later three, but I like this second issue a great deal.
Yeah, it's fun.
Knowing that it was just layouts by Sal, I think Vinny did a really good job capturing Sal's style and maintaining so the regular book looked similar. This is back when they were like, Sal's the main artist, you're filling in, he's too busy, God, you need to make it look like him. Yeah. And I think actually Coletta does a pretty good job. I think it looks fine. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Even though it was a lot of exposition, what did you think of all that exposition?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you and I have read a lot of these 70s comics, and it's what you get. I mean, there's always going to be a ton of dialogue, a ton. And sometimes it is maybe a little unnecessary, but I feel like they really wanted to go, pretty deep on a lot of these characters. There's a lot going on, and like you said, we're talking about, present time, a future time. You get all these basically history lessons and stuff. So I feel like most of it seemed, pretty necessary in here. So not bad.
Oh yeah, that's something I really liked about it. Was that if I'm reading, because think of this as the logic behind it is someone's not buying. People buy comics in a certain pattern. I like superhero teams. I would always buy team books and team up books. Those are the ones. I mean, there are solo runs, very specific ones I've read over my life that are, kind of important to me. The Burn leading into the Triangle era of Superman, that stuff, I read that religiously. I read Kyle Rayner religiously. I read Wally West. Batman I jumped in and out of certain eras. Like, I'm a big fan of the era of the big events, like, not maybe Nightfall, but like No Man's Land and stuff like that, and Captain America and stuff like that. But I was a team guy. So I think this was a good way to, because it touches on, the only thing they don't show is Deathlock does belong in those Robo Wars.
Yes.
Because that's where but they're all things that you could have gone out and fed. And so it's to get you to look for these other characters, or maybe, someone says, hey, they got the Guardians on the cover of this Defenders book. Oh, wow, it's got Killer, and someone thumbs it and maybe buys it.
Yeah.
Because this has been, where the covers were to show you something about the inside of the book. I don't think a lot of modern covers do that.
No.
But they had to rely on him to do it. But overall, I liked all of this. I think both of them are good, and I'm looking forward to maybe in about 2-3 weeks we get back together and finish the rest of it, because that's good. I thought this is a good breaking point, because you get to the cliffhanger, you've gotten them into place. So
yeah, it was. I think for me the second one was much better than the giant size, probably because it didn't have 15 people involved in the creation of it. But yeah, it's only going to get better, and you and I did discuss too off mic that there's going to be a very Gerber moment in one of the issues. And we're going to talk about.
We're about to go to the tipping point into Gerber, because the arc after this is the beginning of the Headman saga, which is one of the most complicated Marvel plot lines ever, and it is, everybody I know that has read this era praises it, because it was, I don't give no fucks about, I'm going to do what I want to do in my story. That's what made Gerber such a great comic writer, because it's superheroes, it's soap opera, it's comedy, it's social commentary,
satire, yeah.
It's everything. It's great. All right, so hey, Billy, thanks for coming on again. It's always a blast talking Defenders with you. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you can look up my podcast, Magazines and Monsters. There's a couple of sub shows in there as well. Check that out. Lots of stuff going on there. I talk comics and movies and all sorts of crazy stuff. And, also just out there on the socials, you can look me up as well. It's on Twitter. It's at BillyD_Licious. And then I have a Facebook page for Magazines and Monsters as well.
Awesome. I jump in and out because I'm not listening to many podcasts, but I jump in and out so I can get your zany haney. And then if it's a horror movie that I've watched, I jump in.
Yeah,
All right.
You and I are going to talk about a movie coming up soon, too. We've been had something here on the back channels we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Crazy
I'm looking forward to it. I gotta
sci-fi.
Yeah. I got a copy of it, so I'm ready to watch it. All right,
Awesome.
folks. As always, thanks for listening, and I appreciate your support. Be smart, be safe, be kind to one another, people, and read some comics.